You might think your sudden, intense craving for, like a giant bowl of pasta, or your random afternoon fatigue, or even that weird scratch in your throat, are just signs of a spring cold, or, maybe seasonal allergies.
Right, the usual suspect.
Exactly. But according to a massive trend making waves across the internet right now, you aren't sick at all. Operating entirely within the logic of today's fascinating source material, you are actually experiencing a biological software update.
A biological software update, which is, that is quite the claim to process.
Right, and it's triggered by a planet roughly 400 million miles away.
Yeah, and that is exactly our mission for this deep dive. We're exploring a really compelling argument from a recent breakdown video that suggests the human body operates as this highly sensitive cosmic receiver.
Like an antenna, basically.
Exactly, an antenna. Specifically, this creator argues that our physical forms decode major astrological shifts. In this case, the planet Jupiter moving into the sign of Cancer on May 25th. And we decode this long before our conscious brains even realize what is happening.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
So our goal today is to unpack the underlying mechanisms of why the body supposedly reacts this way, right?
Right. We want to examine the very specific physical responses the source attributes to this shift, and look at the psychological strategies they recommend to navigate what they're calling a massive period of, quote, emotional expansion.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because the way this creator frames the physical exhaustion so many people are reporting right now, it's actually a brilliant way to look at burnout, regardless of whether you follow astrology or not.
Oh, absolutely. The framing is so universal.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it like a smartphone running a fundamental background update. You look at your phone, the screen seems normal, and you're just trying to do basic things like, check email or open a map.
But it's totally freezing up on you.
Yes. Every single app is lagging, the keyboard is sticking, and the device itself is running incredibly hot in your hand. Like, you feel like the phone is broken.
But it's not breaking at all.
Right? It's not. 90% of its processing power has been secretly diverted to this massive structural internal download. And the source is arguing that, as we approach May 25th, your body is that overheating phone.
That analogy perfectly sets up the mechanical argument the source is making, actually, because to understand why our internal systems are supposedly glitching out, we have to look really closely at the software update itself.
The actual file being downloaded, yeah.
Exactly. We have to map out the transition from the energy of the past year to the energy of the incoming cycle. In astrological terms, that is the shift from Taurus into Cancer.
And the video spends a lot of time contrasting these two environments. Like for the past 12 months, Jupiter, which in this framework acts as a giant magnifying glass for whatever sign it's in, has been parked in Taurus.
Right, the Earth sign.
Yeah, the source describes Taurus as heavy, grounded Earth energy. It is incredibly practical. If you think about what society has been pushing lately, it perfectly aligns with this Earth vibe. It's slow, steady, physical grinding.
Yeah, the whole hustle culture thing.
Totally. It's the energy of strict morning gym routines, building up financial resources, and just, keeping your boots firmly on the dirt.
It's the architecture of the material world. Earth energy essentially asks you to build walls and hoard resources, but the creator emphasizes that when Jupiter dives into Cancer on the 25th, that entire material landscape just evaporates.
It's just gone.
Yeah.
Because Cancer isn't an Earth sign at all.
Exactly. It's a water sign. It is ruled by the moon. It represents the mother archetype, the home, the womb, your ancestral line, and just deep, unedited emotion. So you are taking the planet of ultimate expansion and dropping it from a rigid, material, earthbound reality directly into deep spiritual waters.
There is a quote in the video that stopped completely because it crystallizes that transition so well. The creator says, "The universe stops asking, 'What do you do?' and starts asking, 'What do you feel?'"
Oh, wow. Yeah, if we pause and really analyze the psychology of that question, we can see exactly why this shift would cause a systemic shock.
Because we live in a society where your worth is almost inextricably linked to your output.
100%. It's always, what do you do for a living? What did you produce today? And if you've spent a year, or maybe even a decade, perfectly calibrating your nervous system to that Earth energy.
Measuring your value by what you build and earn.
Right. Being suddenly submerged into an environment that only cares about your emotional authenticity. It's completely disorienting. It strips away the armor of productivity.
That disorientation makes total sense. But it brings up a major point of confusion I had while watching the breakdown. The creator puts a hard, specific date on the calendar, right? Way 25th.
Yes, the day Jupiter officially crosses the line.
Okay, so if the cosmic shift happens on a Tuesday at the end of the month, why is the video insisting with such urgency that people are feeling these intense physical symptoms right now, like weeks early?
It comes down to the source's concept of energetic momentum, or what they basically call the buildup. The argument is that astrological shifts of this magnitude, they don't just flip on and off like a light switch.
Like it's not a sudden jump.
Exactly, the energy gathers. Your physical form, being way denser than pure energy, requires a massive runway to acclimate to a brand new frequency. The video uses a highly visceral metaphor here.
Well, the ocean one.
Yeah, they ask you to imagine you've lived your entire life walking on dry land. You understand gravity, you know how to breathe the air, that is the Taurus energy. But the universe is preparing to throw you off a cliff into the ocean.
And the creator looks right into the lens and says, and this is so intense, they say, your lungs are burning right now because you are learning to breathe underwater before you even get wet.
It's an incredible image, and precisely the point. From a biological perspective, the body is essentially going into a state of anticipatory shock.
Like it's bracing for impact.
Exactly. It senses the environmental density changing, it feels the metaphorical water approaching, and the central nervous system is scrambling to adapt its basic survival mechanisms before the plunge.
Which transitions us directly into how this water shock
Yeah.
is supposedly showing up in our daily lives. The video outlines a few very distinct somatic responses, like physical symptoms, that indicate you were in the middle of this adaptation.
Right, the body signs.
Yeah. The first one is what they dub the phantom flu. People are reporting these low-grade fevers, strange deep tissue body aches, or these sudden crushing bouts of fatigue that hit out of nowhere, keep you in bed for 3 hours, and then completely vanish.
The mechanics the source uses to explain this are deeply rooted in elemental theory. They argue this feverish feeling is literally the fire element within your body creating friction as it tries to adjust to the incoming water element of Cancer.
Wow.
More specifically, they claim Jupiter's expensive energy is targeting the lymphatic system.
Let's define that for a second, because the lymphatic system is doing a lot of heavy lifting in this story.
It really is. Medically speaking, the lymphatic system is your body's primary drainage and detoxification network. It clears out cellular waste and fights infection.
Right.
But in the metaphysical framework of this video, that physical detox is mirroring a spiritual one. The argument is that you are quite literally, on a cellular level, sweating out the hustle culture mindset.
Sweating out the hustle culture.
All right. Your physical body is forcibly draining the toxic need to constantly be productive.
I have to pause here, though, because the source attaches a pretty massive warning to this phantom flu. They explicitly tell viewers, do not just pop a pill to numb these symptoms.
Yeah, that's a big claim.
Telling people to ignore a fever and skip medication feels like a pretty reckless piece of advice to broadcast on the internet. How do they even justify that?
It is definitely a controversial stance. The creator does clarify that they are talking about these specific, fleeting, 3-hour energetic fatigue episodes, not like a genuine medical crisis. Obviously, if you are legitimately ill, seek medical care.
Of course.
But their internal logic relies on that smartphone analogy brought up earlier. If you view these aches and fevers as a mechanical failure, your instinct is to suppress them with painkillers to force the body back to normal.
To make the phone stop lagging.
Exactly. But the source argues the fever is the download. Numbing the symptom interrupts the structural update. You are essentially pausing the installation of this new emotional capacity.
Okay, so if the body is busy physically shutting down your drive to hustle, what happens to your emotional state?
Well, the video notes that once your physical defenses drop like that, your energetic boundaries completely dissolve. They call it becoming a psychic sponge.
A psychic sponge. And this brings us to the second physical manifestation, which is intensely relatable, honestly. The stomach. People are either completely losing their appetite, or they suddenly want to stress eat nothing but heavy bread, pasta, and pastries.
I mean, who hasn't been there? But to understand the causality here, we have to look at what the source calls astrological anatomy.
Which means certain signs rule certain body parts.
Right. Every zodiac sign is said to rule a different physiological system. Cancer is the archetype of nurturing, so biologically it rules the stomach, the breasts, and the digestive process. The literal centers of how we process and assimilate nourishment.
Okay, that makes sense.
So as Jupiter expands the energy of Cancer, it is actively expanding your gut. And the video argues this isn't just physical digestion, it is expanding your gut intuition.
And that psychic sponge concept comes with a stark warning, too. The creator points out that because your gut is so wide open, you are currently absorbing the emotional water of everyone around you.
Yes, you're just taking it all in.
Like if you walk into a grocery store and suddenly feel a crushing wave of despair, the source wants you to realize that sadness probably isn't yours. You are just processing the ambient anxiety of the room through your own stomach.
Which perfectly explains the sudden drive to consume heavy carbohydrates. Think about the physical properties of bread and pasta. They are dense, they expand, they weigh you down.
They're grounding.
Exactly. When our energetic boundaries feel porous and we are overwhelmed by invisible emotional input, we subconsciously seek out heavy foods to anchor us. It is an instinctual attempt to provide a sense of physical gravity and safety when our emotional world feels like it's just floating away.
That instinct to protect our boundaries leads right into the third and maybe most surprising somatic response.
The throat.
Yes. The video points out that many people are waking up right now with a cracked, scratchy voice or a constant lump in their throat. Normally, we would write that off as, sleeping with the ceiling fan on, or the pollen count being really high.
Sure, allergies.
But this framework insists the physical sore throat is actually a profound boundary issue.
This is where the synthesis of esoteric tradition and modern psychology gets really interesting. The source connects Cancer's incoming energy not just to the gut, but as a reactionary force to the throat chakra.
Can you explain the throat chakra part a bit more?
Yeah, so for those unfamiliar with the concept, the chakras are viewed as energetic centers in the body. The throat chakra specifically governs your center of communication, self-expression, and personal truth.
Right.
The theory posits that your gut is sensing all these crossed boundaries, and your body is physically demanding that you speak your truth before the full wave hits on May 25th.
The friction of unsaid words. The video's phrasing on this is incredibly ominous, actually.
It really is.
The creator says that if you don't clear your throat and set your boundaries this week, Jupiter's expansive nature is going to force the issue. It will orchestrate a real-life scenario that literally forces you to yell.
Wow.
It's almost like the universe is giving you an ultimatum. Like, you can either whisper your truth right now, or I am going to put you in a situation where you have to scream it.
It is a brilliant way to reframe physical discomfort, honestly. Taking a sore throat out of the realm of random biology and placing it into the realm of agency, it removes the victimhood.
Yeah, you aren't just helpless.
Exactly. Instead of complaining, oh, I caught a bug, it forces the individual to ask, what boundary am I refusing to articulate?
So, assuming we are actively listening to our bodies like, we understand the phantom fevers are a detox, the pasta cravings are an attempt to ground ourselves, and the scratchy throat is a demand for boundaries. How exactly are we supposed to manage all this?
How do we survive the buildup?
Yeah. How do we survive the countdown to the 25th?
Well, the source is very firm that you cannot just sit around and wait for the astrological weather to change. Unlike some passive astrological advice, this creator demands that you actively set the space now, during the messy buildup.
So you have to do the work beforehand.
Yes, so that when this massive emotional energy arrives, quote, the miracle has somewhere to land. You have to prepare the room.
And the first step of that preparation is a direct attack on hustle culture. They say to stop forcing expansion. If you feel tired, you cancel your plans. You don't push through.
Which is so hard for people.
It is. The video repeats this mantra. You don't chase a river, you float in it. Which sounds beautiful, but letting go of that control is incredibly hard for most of us.
It's incredibly hard because floating requires immense, terrifying trust. If we tie this back to the transition from earth to water, the mechanics of movement completely change.
How do you mean?
Well, on earth, moving forward requires traction. You dig your heels in, you push, you exert force against the dirt.
Right, friction.
But if you apply that same aggressive pushing mechanics to the ocean, if you try to punch a wave or sprint through deep water, you are just going to exhaust yourself and drown.
That is such a vivid picture.
Water requires surrender and buoyancy. The video is pleading with the viewer to stop applying earth mechanics to a water environment.
That makes the second strategy they offer even more fascinating, because it brings that concept of water directly into the physical body through diet.
Oh, the warm foods.
Yes. The creator advises that for the next few weeks, you need to eat warm, watery foods, soups, broths, hot porridge. The specific phrasing they use is that your upper chakras are drying out and you need to rehydrate them.
Let's decode that jargon for a moment. When esoteric practitioners talk about the upper chakras, they are referring to the energy centers located in the head and throat.
So the brain area.
Exactly. The areas responsible for logic, intense focus, overthinking, and rational planning. Because Jupiter in Cancer is pulling all your energetic focus down into the gut and the emotional centers, those upper logical centers are being starved of energy.
Oh, wow.
They are metaphorically and perhaps physically feeling dehydrated.
Which perfectly explains the brain fog everyone is talking about.
Exactly. The underlying logic of the soup and broth recommendation is about providing grounding without adding density. You're dealing with this abstract, massive cosmic expansion, and you need a physical anchor.
But not a heavy anchor like a steak.
Right. If you anchor yourself with heavy, dry earth foods like massive steaks or raw, crunchy vegetables, your overworked digestive system will struggle. Warm, deeply hydrating foods soothe the sensitive stomach while signaling absolute comfort and safety to the body.
It is literally giving your nervous system a warm hug from the inside out. I love that. Now, the final strategy the video recommends is my absolute favorite, largely because the visual is so perfect.
A crab walk.
Yes, the crab walk protocol. Crabs, by design, do not move in a straight line, they move sideways. So the actionable advice here is that if you encounter resistance in your life right now, like your shoulders are tightening up, your heart is racing over an email, or you're hitting a total creative wall on a project, do not try to push straight through it. Stop and go sideways.
Regardless of anyone's belief in planetary movements, this is an elite psychological tool.
It really is, isn't it?
What the creator is suggesting is a deliberate pattern interrupt for the nervous system. When modern humans feel resistance, our conditioned default is to apply more force. We work later, we push harder.
We just grind it out.
Yeah, and biologically, this spikes our cortisol and tells our primal brain that we are under active threat. By choosing to go sideways, by shutting the laptop and taking a walk, or swapping an intense weightlifting session for a gentle stretching routine, you are actively communicating safety to your biology.
You're proving to your brain that you don't have to fight the resistance. It reminds me so much of those woven Chinese finger traps we used to play with as kids. You stick your fingers in both ends, and your immediate panic instinct when you feel trapped is to yank your hands apart.
To pull as hard as you can.
Right. But the harder you pull in a straight, aggressive line, the tighter the woven bamboo grips you. Your own aggressive force is what keeps you stuck. The only way to escape the trap is to completely relax, push inward against your instincts, and wiggle your fingers sideways to create space.
That is a phenomenal analogy for this entire cosmic event. You have to relax into the pressure to release it. And that brings us to the grand synthesis of the source's message. This entire chaotic buildup.
The fatigue, the cravings, the sore throats.
All of it. The draining fatigue, the forced boundaries, the crab walking. It is fundamentally a process of softening.
Softening. That word carries so much weight in the context of the video.
It does. And the creator delivers a very blunt reality check about it. If you are a person who has survived the last few years by being armor-plated, if your primary coping mechanism has been to be tough, guarded, and relentlessly productive,
which is so many of us.
Right. This softening process is going to be incredibly painful. Prying off armor that has rusted to your skin is not a peaceful experience.
But the video follows that warning up with this incredibly poignant reassurance. The creator looks directly at the viewer and says, that profound heaviness you might be feeling in your chest right now, that isn't depression and it isn't defeat. It is your soul finally exhaling a breath it has been holding since 2020.
Oh, the psychological weight of that specific year cannot be overstated.
Think about what the entire globe went through. We all collectively locked down, braced for impact, and entered a state of hypervigilant survival mode. This astrological framework is suggesting we have effectively been holding our breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop, for 4 straight years.
4 years of constant tension.
Yeah. And the body is only just now feeling safe enough in this incoming water energy to let that breath out.
To add an even deeper layer of context to that, the source brings up the actual mathematical orbit of Jupiter. Jupiter only enters the sign of Cancer once every 12 years.
Wow, every 12 years.
So the last time this specific energetic environment existed, a massive portion of the audience watching that video were just children. Or at least in a radically different, less mature stage of their lives.
You were fundamentally a different person 12 years ago. The creator's ultimate message is that now, as the adult you have become with the boundaries you are currently setting, you are finally ready.
You're prepared for it.
Exactly. You finally have the capacity to receive a level of emotional abundance and safety that you simply could not hold the last time this cycle occurred. You aren't breaking down, you are just making room.
Which leads to the source's final, remarkably simple advice for navigating the days ahead. Listen to the fatigue. When your physical body demands sleep, surrender to it.
Stop fighting it.
Honor the tears. If you need to cry at a random commercial, don't analyze it, just let the water flow. The creator concludes by saying, you don't need to force the door open anymore because the tide is already coming in.
Just float in the river.
Exactly. And if we connect all of these threads back to the core philosophy the video opened with, it leaves us with a truly provocative question to consider long after this deep dive ends. The source insists that the universe is actively shifting its ultimate metric of success. It is abandoning the question, what do you do? And demanding the answer to, what do you feel?
That is the pivot. The whole pivot is the shift.
It is. So for you listening right now, if the last 12 years of your life, your daily habits, and perhaps your entire core identity were defined almost exclusively by what you did and what you produced, what entirely new, unimaginable version of you might emerge if the next 12 years are defined purely by what you feel?